Welcome to this week's show. Now, did you know that every living thing, including inanimate objects, are surrounded by many different colors and shapes that you can't see with the naked eye? Unless, of course, you are like my guest today, Barbara Martin, who's been seeing things such as brilliant colors and shapes around people and objects from a very early age. And later she discovered that this was actually the aura. And she's with us today to discuss her new book, which is called Change Your Aura, Change Your Life. And in it, she explains exactly what the aura is, why it's naturally there, and a step-by-step guide on how to change your aura to enhance your life. And we're so delighted she's with us today. Welcome, Barbara.
Thank you very much, Tracie. I'm happy to be here.
I wanted to start off by asking you, Barbara, just take us back to how all of this started for you.
Yes, at the age of 3, like you said, I could see colors, and I mainly saw them around my family. When I moved to Kansas City, Missouri, I was very much into drama and that kind of thing. I used to write a little kiddie show, and the lady that was called Dorothy Lamas that had this group came to me one day and she said, "You can see the aura." And I said, "Oh, is that what it was called?" Because that was the first time I ever heard that term.
Right.
She said, "I happen to be a hermetic scientist along with my mother and grandmother, and I have charts. Because when you see lemon yellow, so what does that mean?" She said, "You can come and copy. You can't take them out, but you can come and copy." So I did go there on Saturday mornings, and I would copy. And so I had a definite idea what each thing meant. When we moved from Kansas City to L.A., I began to move back a little and not get involved. But one day, the girl that I was having lunch with, I said, "You're going to get married soon." And she started to laugh hysterically. She says, "Barbara, who's going to marry me with 6 children?"
Wow.
I says, "I don't know, but I feel and sense you are going to get married." Well, she went to a high school reunion, met an old boyfriend that also was divorced. Guess what? Dun, 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 dun.
She did it.
Yeah. So she went on and said, "I don't know what that Barbara knows, but she knows something." So a friend of hers called me by the name of Della in North Hollywood, and she said, "Would you like to come and join our group?" I said, "Well, I'll come." But I found I was teaching them. They weren't teaching me.
Right.
So one day she came, it was, you might remember this, it was during the time of transcendental meditation. Now you may not know, or maybe you do, and then that was the Maharishi that did that.
That's right, correct.
But she said, "You know," she said, "I like your meditation more. Would you get up on the lecture platform?" That was the first time, you know, I said, "To do what?" She says, "Get on the lecture platform and talk about meditation." I said, "Oh, no, forget that plan." So a couple weeks later, she comes back. She says, "You know what? I hired this place at the Masonic Lodge in Hollywood, and you are lecturing Friday." I said, "Oh, my Lord." Then I thought, well, I don't want her to lose her money because she had gone that far.
Right.
So I did. Afterwards, people came up to me and said, "We'd like to join your class." I said, "What class?" I didn't have a class. They said, "Would you form one?" Well, it became 1, it became 2, and so on. Finally, I had to make a decision. Do I continue with this or do I give it up? And I thought, well, if I fail, I can always, you know, go back to, as you call it, Lunchbox Johnny Jobs. And I decided to try it. Well, I've been doing it over 30 years now,
Wow.
so it didn't
That's
fail.
amazing.
Yeah.
So, Barbara, where does the word aura come from?
Oh, so it's like the aurora borealis,
Oh,
the light
really?
rays. Yeah, that's where it comes from originally. It's an ancient name. The ancient mystery schools always would read your aura and tell you what it was all about and so forth. And we are made up of many energies, not just one. Now, some people will come up and say, "What is my color?" I said, "What is your color?" Many colors, not just one, because you're made up of different divisions.
Right.
Yeah.
And everyone is naturally, they naturally have this from birth?
Everyone.
Everyone.
Everyone, yeah.
Including inanimate objects.
Right.
Why would an inanimate object have an aura?
Well, because it's alive like anything else, and wood is even further than like a horseshoe, steel. Animals, of course, even bigger. Your animals, my animals, anybody's animals have an aura. Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Why don't we all have the ability?
Why don't we all? Well, it's just like playing the piano. You practice and you become a pianist. The aura is the same way. It has to be developed, and I brought it in from a past life. Yeah.
I see.
Yeah.
Is the aura there every time then? All the time?
All the time. Of course, I don't look at people's auras except as they ask me to, or when I do seminars, I do read auras during that time.
Right.
But I do not recommend people to try and read somebody else's aura.
Why is
if they
that?
don't know. Well, if they don't know, they could be inaccurate, and you don't want to give somebody wrong information, you know. That's important, yeah.
So whereabouts on the body do you see color and shapes?
Well, everywhere. Your health lines, your spiritual division, your magnetic division, your emotional, I mean, everywhere.
And how far does the aura stretch?
Well, let me put it this way. There are 3 types of auras. One is oval. That's the very advanced, like a man like Jesus and Buddha. You and I and everyone else usually have a round aura. And those that are not as evolved have what we call a square aura.
Right.
Now, you remember hearing the term, he's a square?
Yes, I know it well.
So that's the way that works. You have
Right.
different types.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, what about when we sleep? Is the aura still there when we sleep?
Oh, absolutely. The only time it leaves you is when you leave this earth.
Right.
Now, this woman was saying that she was noticing people getting on an elevator and they looked dark to her. Well, that is because they got on the elevator and they died in that elevator. The aura was leaving them.
Really?
Now, when my mother passed away in my arms, I could see her aura leaving her.
Really?
Yeah.
So what does it look like as we're about to depart from this world? Are they, dull colors? There's no brightness there?
They're gone.
They're gone.
They're gone completely. What happens is you have a silver cord that's connected in your liver. When it snaps, that's it. Yeah, your astral body goes on.
Well, just explain to us, Barbara, about some of the clients that you've worked with, that you've helped to change their aura, and the benefits that they've had from doing that.
Okay, one that comes to mind is a friend of mine. First of all, I was doing a class in Palos Verdes area, and her sister said, could you possibly help my sister? I said, well, I'll see her and see what the teachers can do for her. So I met her, and she looked like something the cat dragged in. She had, her husband had taken all her money, and she was sleeping on the pattern table. I can give you an idea. She hadn't eaten, so I took her to what was known as Copper Penny in those days. I don't think it's around anymore.
Right.
And I said, I can tell you what energies you can use to make the crucial changes, but you have to do it. I can't do it for you. She agreed. Within 3 months, she had a place to live and a studio. She had a design job, and she was moving along. Then she left designing and went into New York and was a top executive. So her life turned around.
Wow, that's
with
amazing.
using the energies.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So what are the 6 steps then for people listening to the show today that want to say, hey, I want to improve my life. How can we go about changing the aura?
Yeah.
Where would they start?
First of all, not that I'm pushing my book, but it goes into it quite deeply. Here I can only fragmentally say to you that you start by, first of all, one of the most important things is to meditate. I find that when I ask the question, do you meditate, maybe like 30–40% do not meditate. It's important to be relaxed, to meditate, to work with your higher self point, which is 24 inches above your head, and to bring down those energies and make changes.
Now, people are going to say, Barbara, but how do you meditate?
All right, meditation is quite simple. It's being quiet. Now, some people have difficulty, so I give them what I have called reflective meditation. That is being by the ocean, being at a mountain scene and so forth, that helps them to relax.
Right.
So with those that have difficulty meditating, that's what I recommend, the reflective meditation.
Right. So when we've got ourselves in that meditative state and we're nice and relaxed and we're calm, what's the next stage?
To be in a receptive place. You see, meditation is you're receiving from God. Prayer is you're petitioning God. That's the difference between the two. Now, I've had people say, well, I pray, why should I meditate?
Right.
I said, there's a difference between the two. You need to receive, which is your meditation. You need to petition, which is your prayer. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So what kind of colors should people be thinking about?
They don't really have to be thinking colors. What they need to do is to know what each thing means and how it can be applied. Now, if I want harmony, I'm going to go toward emerald green, which gives you balance and harmony.
Right.
If I want love, it's very obvious, I'm going to go to deep rose pink. If I want talent, I'm going to go to electric blue. So each thing has its meaning, and that's what you go towards.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I just want to bring the audience's attention to another book that Barbara actually wrote called The Kingdom of Light, which is a sensational book, and there's a lot of information in there.
90 meditations.
Wow. 90 meditations.
Yeah.
Whoa!
Yeah.
That's bedtime reading.
Yeah, it is.
So you wrote Kingdom of Light, Barbara. Why did you want to write Change Your Aura, Change Your Life?
Well, I found that this was a little bit heavy for some people, and I wanted to make it more simplified. And that's why I went to this book.
I see. And you're going to be doing a tour very soon, I hear.
Yes, I'm going to be doing a book tour. I'm going into Chicago, New York, San Francisco, Denver, and so forth like that. Yeah.
Wow. So that's...
And I'll be on radio and TV and do book signings at bookstores.
Right. I was just about to ask you about that, about radio and TV.
Right.
Okay. For our audience that wants to have a go at doing this, as we just spoke about, is there any particular part of the body that may be easier to concentrate on changing an aspect of?
Well, of course, the mental body is the important place to concentrate, because you can use what we call the silver energy, which gives you divine intelligence. And of course, the mind controls the rest of you. So that's where I would start.
That's amazing. What about with someone who has an illness that wants to do something about their aura?
All right, that will show up in droopy, gray, dull, metal gray lines from both sides of their body. In that case, they will use silvery white to change it. Now, I don't diagnose because I'm not a doctor and I don't want people visiting me in jail. But I would say a thing like, you know, you seem to have sort of a darkness around your liver. The idea is for them to go to a medical doctor and check it out. But you can use this silvery white energy, which will improve your health lines.
Right.
Yeah.
So through meditation, then, we are focusing on a certain thing, whether it's an illness or whether it's something that we want, something that we want success from.
Right.
And through that process, you're actually changing the colors around the body to bring that in.
Right. For example, in your case, which I'll tell you perhaps later, you have electric blue. Well, that's obvious. You're a talented person with abilities. And that shows up in your magnetic division. Yeah.
Right. Let's go on to that a little bit further, Barbara.
Okay.
What kind of colors do you see around me today?
Okay. First of all, the pink stands out because it's like bubbly champagne surrounding you.
Now, what does that mean?
A loving, compassionate person.
Right.
Friendly. Obviously, you get along with people, which is important. Sense of humor. You do have the lemon yellow, which is powers of concentration, the silver, which is intelligence within the mental body. You have violet and some pink in the emotional body, which is you are a peaceful person. You don't like disharmony and discord. You also seek harmony, which is the emerald green. You have a bright orange, which is you're motivated and enthusiastic. You have ruby red, which is vitality, you know, energy. I almost see you jumping around. You have so much energy.
Yes.
Right? You have a blue diamond point right here at the throat center, which is indicative of what you're doing, a lot of talking.
Communication.
Communication. Your silvery white lines, you have good health. There's no problem there, no health problems. You might have something here and there, but nothing to worry about. You do have a wonderful color division. You know, what really strikes me is that I don't see dark colors like avocado green, vitiated red, black, metal gray, that kind of thing.
So that would be bad to see those colors.
Well, yeah, that's devolved. And I tell people, if you see somebody consistently wearing avocado green that's a salesman selling cars, run away because they'll cheat you.
Right.
Right. So colors tell you something. And in your case, the pink stands out a lot. I mean, you're compassionate. You want to give service to people. And you have to have a lot of that, which you do have a lot of that. You have a very good spiritual division, which is above your head, meaning you've brought in a lot of power and energy. And when you meditate, you can tap that, which is important. You have purple under your feet, which again means you've overcome obstacles in your life. And you know, we all go through some rough places in our life.
Yes, we did.
How am I doing?
You're doing absolutely fantastic. She's spot on. She is spot on. Thumbs up for Barbara. You're doing great, Barbara. Yeah. It's all accurate what you're saying to me.
Right. There's no question that you're an evolved soul, and you will continue to be. I do see, and this is beyond reading the aura, I do see clairvoyantly that you're going to have more success in your show, and it's going to get bigger and bigger and better and better. You're going to be noticed for many things. Also, I don't know, do you have it in mind to write a book?
Funny you should say that. Yes.
Okay.
I am in the process. It's in its very early stages, but I have.
Yeah, I feel it's somewhere there, around the corner, somewhere there. And it'll be a success, so do write it.
Right.
Yeah, and basically, all in all, you have the round aura that I spoke about. You have an excellent aura.
Really?
There's no getting around that, yeah.
What would be the very best type of aura
Well,
that you've ever seen?
Well, what I said, the oval. Now, if you have an oval aura, we're talking about a man like Jesus who's perfect. Now, we all have little flaws here and there, you know. We come in to what? Improve. And that's change your life, like the book says. And so if you are fortunate enough to be like a Jesus or a Buddha or something like that, then you will have an oval-shaped aura, and then that means that top of the line. Okay.
And animals have the auras. Do they have the shapes around them too?
Animals have the aura. They're not as large, but they'll have usually pink and yellow and blue surround animals. They don't have the amount of energies that the humans have, but yes, they do have. A loving, like you mentioned, my cat, Lady Diana, she had a lot of pink. Yeah.
Yeah, she is so loving, isn't
Yeah,
she?
she is quite a cat.
Yeah, she is.
Smartest cat I ever met. That's her.
What about children and their
Children
auras?
do not have, what was the other word you said?
I was just mentioning about children and the auras that they have.
Yeah.
Do they have an aura that's as evolved as?
It's not as pronounced until after they're 7 years old. Then they begin to have a lot of it.
Why is that, Barbara?
Because it would be difficult to handle, because you know the philosopher said, give me the first 7 years of a child's life and you can have the rest.
Yes.
They can't handle that much from that little body. So it takes a little bit to get it concise and to get it connected. And that's the major reason. Yeah.
One of the questions I wanted to ask you, Barbara, and I'm sure maybe our studio audience or our audience out there is listening to this and would want me to ask this question: are there certain colors that we can wear to enhance our aura?
Absolutely.
Really?
Right. My friend was saying, I'm tired and my energy's down. You go right to red. Wear red. That brings up your energy. Red or orange will bring up your energy. If you feel like you want gentleness and peace, go to purple or go to violet. If you feel like you want to be quickened, wear silvery, sort of a silvery type energy. If you, of course, loving. Now, I tell people what you have to watch is, for instance, let's say you go on an interview. You don't want to wear dark colors on an interview because that will turn the interviewer off. What you want to wear is like pink, light blue, powder blue, that kind of thing.
To attract good vibration
right,
for yourself.
Right. They will, exactly that. They'll be attracted by those energies.
What about a clash of color, though, that you don't know what's necessarily in your aura, and you're wearing a color? Is it not going to clash with what you naturally have around you?
I'm not sure I understand that question.
The aura that we have, you see certain colors. If we wear certain colors, is there going to be a disharmony?
Not necessarily,
Anywhere?
no. Not necessarily, I don't think so. Yeah.
So we're quite safe to wear what we...
Yeah,
really
as I
want
said, as long as you stay away from the darker hues, then you're fine. Like a cocoa brown is a petty, cruel person. You certainly don't want to wear that on an interview.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. That's a good advice there for the people
Yeah,
listening to the show today.
Yeah.
It really is.
So when you, also if you want to attract a mate, you want to go towards your pink and powder blue.
Yes.
and
What
that
would we
kind of
do if we wanted to attract a love in our life, a new relationship?
Well, that's what I'm saying. You should be wearing your pink. Also, light blue is very good. That kind of thing.
Why is the aura naturally there, Barbara? Why do you think God would give us this?
Well, it's part and parcel of your makeup. You know, for instance, why did He give us an astral body? Well, the astral body, which if your listeners are not sure, this is the duplicate body that comes in and you leave. That is the real body. So that this astral body serves you well because it takes the brunt of illness before you reach a stage of illness in your physical body. So God gave us all these things to mean something and to do something. Yeah.
How soon after birth does the aura develop?
Oh, 7 years, as I said, the first 7 years, yeah.
First 7 years.
Yeah, it takes that long because the child is too malleable, you know, malleable at that point.
Right.
Yeah, so you have to be careful.
Tell us a little bit about your Center for the Metaphysical Studies, Barbara.
My what?
Your center? Yeah.
Oh, well, we're trying to kick it off the ground. It's all a question of finances and, you know, getting donors to donate to it and so forth. So it's not at a very advanced stage yet, but hopefully it will be someday.
How can people find out about it, rather than, you know, other than this show?
Call 353-0506 in the 818, and Dimitri can explain it to them.
Now, who's Dimitri, for people
Dimitri
that don't know?
happens to be an associate of mine who helped me write that book, and I think the name is there. And he is extremely helpful to me in more ways than one.
Right. How did you meet Dimitri?
It's an interesting story. A girlfriend by the name of Judy and student called me and said, would you come and do a meditation at my home? I'm having a little dinner party. And I said, sure, I'd love to. And I went, as long as my schedule was okay. And I did the meditation, and Dimitri happened to be one of the guests. So afterwards, he got intrigued and started asking a lot of questions. Well, before I knew it was about 11 o'clock or more, and I said, well, Dimitri, I have to do a lecture tomorrow. If you're that interested, come to the Thomas Institute where I'm lecturing.
Right.
And I told him the particulars. He came. Afterwards, several people, including him, said, well, can we join your class? And the answer was, again, what class? I didn't have a class at that point. But he happened to have a huge living room. So eventually, there was about 15 people that decided to join, and we had the class in his home.
I see.
Yeah.
How many people do you see on a daily basis, Barbara, with your readings?
Of course, it varies, but basically, let's say on a weekly basis, I'd say 10 to 20. Yeah.
That's a lot.
And I also have a healing class, and I do the seminars also.
Now, what's your healing class all about? When? When does
Well,
that happen?
students expressed in my class they would like to learn to become healers. Now, years ago, I used to have what you call a healing circle.
Right.
And this one lady was in a wheelchair, and her husband kept saying, no, no, no. And she said, no, I'm going to. So she entered the circle. By golly, she walked out of that wheelchair.
My
It was
goodness.
amazing, amazing. So in numbers, you know, healing is very strong. So this is what it's all about, teaching them how to become healers.
That's amazing. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, is there anything that you would like to share with our audience that is watching the show today, Barbara? Is there any information that you'd like to give?
Well, mainly that when you use these energies, you can make very effective changes in your life. And this is what we're trying to do, is to take an inventory. What are my weaknesses? What are my strengths? And how can I develop myself to the point where I can become better and better each day and develop, you know, myself more. That's one thing. The other thing is we're living in a very chaotic world, and we need,
Yes, we are.
you know, Sylvia Brown, who I was on the show with, said when people first came to her, they asked her, who am I going to marry? You know, am I going to buy that house? Later, they started asking, what do I do to be more spiritual? So the climax, the time is now. People now are ready for it.
Right.
Yeah.
So people have got to really, you know, get on the bandwagon with this and
Yes.
do something.
Yeah, because what we do is now for our soldiers and things, we send light to the soldiers that are over there and to their families and so forth, and to the homeless and to the widows and battered people, orphans, starving, all that. I don't know. I mean, I think we're doing a little good that way. And so we do that all the time. I have students doing that.
Wonderful.
And we have a healing list, so when people have someone that's ill or themselves or situations, we put them on the healing. And I have what is known as an altar.
Right.
Well, some people have an altar, and I have religious pictures there of Jesus and different ones, and always have some kind of flowers there,
Right.
and my healing book.
Wonderful. Barbara, with that, I thank you so much for joining us today, and I wish you well on your tour.
Thank you very much.
Hope you'll come back and see us.
Thank you, Tracy. I appreciate it, and I really enjoyed being here.
Thank you. And we will see you next time on Let's Talk Paranormal. Bye-bye.